So this is part 2 of our Harry Potter Hedwig's theme. Let me play just the second part for you so you know what we're working with. So we already did the first part, and then the second part is this. All right, so that's what we're working with. I'm just going to go right into the left hand here because what we're talking about in this part are chords. A chord really is any more than one note at a time being played at the same time or sort of in a series, right? And in this case, on the piano, it's very easy because you kind of think of it as like every other finger, like my thumb, my middle finger, and my 5 finger playing all at the same time. That's a typical chord. It's like a C chord. When we were doing the first part of this, we also talked about there being a 2-note chord. Right, so this, I would call this an E chord or an E minor. But we're not playing the middle note there, we're just playing the outside notes. Now we're going to add the middle note, but it's going to be a G minor. So the way that you do this is you just play every other finger, starting on G. And you take your middle finger and go down to the black key. Right, so it's a half step lower on the middle note. We call that a G minor chord. You don't have to know any of that. Just follow my hand, follow the pattern here. It's a little triangle shape when you look at it on the keyboard. So that's chord number 1. And if you just slide your entire hand left and keep that shape, you end up with an F minor. So still a triangle, still a black key in the center. You can still think of it as an F chord with that middle note down a half step. All right, and again, you just want to get your hand used to this. So you might start with the G minor, sliding over to the F minor. And from here, we're going to go back to our 2-note chords. We're going to move down to E again. So you can kind of see we're just moving in steps here. And so we're back on E, but I'm just going to play my, I call this the devil horns chord, right? So my 5 finger and 2 finger on the E and the A. And from here, this top note is going to do this little triangle movement up to the B flat and then up to the B. And we're back to that chord we had at the beginning of the song. All right, so let's go through that one more time, starting on the G minor, sliding over again, our devil's horns, moving the top note up, and then one more time. The right hand, what I want you to get used to is seeing this triangle here. Okay, so if you kind of start on D and go down to D flat and then C, like that's the beginning of our melody that we're going to play here, right? And then there's, instead of a triangle shape, what we have for the next part is a curve. So these 3 notes here are going to be coming down the black key curve to the white keys, right? Or you could think of, instead of it being a curve this way, you could also think of it as being a curve this way onto the black key. Right? So we have some different shapes happening with this. The first one is that little triangle that we saw. And you can just put your 5 finger on D. Almost think about it being the same position that your left hand had, that G minor chord. I'm in that position with my right hand, only I'm not going to play the chord. What I'm going to play are individual notes, a melody. So I'm going to start on my 5 finger, come down to the next key, the black key with my finger 4, and then just use my next finger on the next key, which is C. All right, so I'm just going 5, 4, 3. Now, from here, what I'm going to do is have my thumb ready to go on this other black key, the A flat. And then in between that A flat and the C, you can see I have this other curve that we were talking about. This is the left side curve from the C to the B to the B flat. All right. So if you look up there, you can kind of see like these are all the keys we're working with, as well as that triangle up on the top end. It's more than 5 notes, so we're not really covering it with all 5 fingers. We're just taking a few at a time. Start with your triangle descending. All right. Now, you notice my hand kind of slid in, and that's to prepare for the next key, which is going to be this A flat. And I'm going to play that with my thumb. And go right back to the note that I just played with my middle finger, which is the C. All right, so let's just put that together, starting on your 5 finger on D. And as I did that, I slid in, so my thumb is on the A flat, and I'm going to go to the A flat and come back to the C. From here, I'm just sliding out so you can see better, but I would actually stay right in here and play the next note, which is the B. And then my thumb is already in position over the black keys. I would just move it over and play the B flat. All right, so there's your curve there. But the way I'm doing that is I'm starting with my middle finger. I've got my second finger right next door. And if your fingers are too thick or too big to fit in between here, if you're having trouble kind of getting those in there at the same time, you can just come back, just slide back outside of those black keys. You'll be able to get those. And then you just slide back in for the black key at the end. All right, so it's just important to see that little curve. It doesn't really matter how your hand does it. I like to stay up here just because it's easy to reach. We're going to add a little introducing note. Instead of starting on the D, this top note, we're actually going to start with our middle finger, which is the B. All right, so again, we start with the introducing note, up to the top, coming down our half step triangle, and I've slid in so my thumb can reach the A flat, coming back to C, and then just stepping down. From here, we only have 2 more notes to play, and this is in our original position. That's the position that we were in at the beginning of the song, which is 5 fingers over 5 notes on E. And we're just going to play finger 3 going to finger 1, the G to the E. If this doesn't quite sound to you like the melody yet, like if it's not coming together for you, it's because this works in tandem with the left hand. There's part of the melody that the left hand fills in. It's sort of like, think about 2 people finishing each other's sentences. So one person says a few words, and then the other person has to say their part before it comes back and the other person says their words, right? It's 2 people finishing a sentence. We're going to do that with our hands, and this happens all the time on piano. Our hands work together. So let's look at this together now. Remember, our left hand is going to play this G minor chord, so we're getting ready for that. And my right hand's in the same position. We're going to play this introducing note, and I just want you to notice that my middle finger and both hands are actually on different keys here, right? They're not going to match each other for the beginning of this. So I'm playing this B, but my left hand is ready to play the B flat. They're not going to be played at the same time. It wouldn't sound great if you did that, so we're not going to do that. You're actually going to play your chord when you go up to this top note. All right, so they hit together on that top note. And then you're going to come down your triangle, and when you get to the bottom, the C goes together with your F minor chord. All right, so let me just do that, and you can practice just doing this a little bit. So that's our first movement. Now the left hand is going to move down, getting ready for the next devil horns chord. And my right hand's going to move in so I can reach this A flat, and I'm going to play this chord when I come back to this C. So again, it's like an introducing note, and then they play together. Now from here, I'm going to come down my curve, and when I hit that B flat, here's the handoff. Your left hand is going to move up to B flat and play that with the E. All right, but again, I'm coming from the right hand to the left hand. All right, so that melody is jumping into the left hand from there. Let's do that again. Chord, coming down half steps, chord again, A flat introduces, and then we're together on the C, walking down to the B flat, and then the B flat in the left hand. And finally, I'm going to play my last 2 notes. So I've moved position, and I'm not going to play the final chord until my last note. Here we go. All right, so one last time, I'll just go through that. You can try walking through it with me. Introducing, chord, half steps, chord again, introducing note, chord with the C, coming down the curve, left hand, the last 2 notes, and together at the end.